Watching him last year, I think right from day one, he kind of took notice. You see a lot more confidence in his game this year, but what really stands out is his ability to battle low, use that size to his advantage.
The Colts get the first goal of the game, shorthanded. Great work by Cardwell. He's going to get that puck out to Forster. What a job by Cardwell. No, look, I mean, George Burnett had some tough decisions to make before the trade deadline. There were some rumors came out that they did try to make some moves. What a night, what a start, what a finish. Look at this little backhand feed to Brown, and make no mistake, right over the left pad of Constantini. What a finish by Brown, and it's the Barrie Colts that find a way.
Always a pleasure to be joined by Gene Pereira, longtime color commentator of the Barrie Colts on Rogers TV, who also covers the team in print over at Barrie Today. Gene started writing for the Barrie Examiner the same year the Colts entered the Ontario Hockey League. So he's been there every step of the way. Gene, thanks for joining me today.
Great to be here, Josh. I guess a little bit closer to some hockey, I hope.
Yeah, that's the hope for everybody. I think it's nice to see the NHL back on television and on your social media timelines and whatnot. Something kind of neat just in your shoes, being able to watch the development of a junior hockey franchise over a span of 25 years. You got to see an OHL championship and a couple close calls since the year 2000. What's it been like covering the Colts over the span of the years?
Yeah, it's been great kind of watching, from the days, covered them back when they were a Junior B franchise, won the Sutherland Cup, and, then they became the OHL franchise in that step, and a brand new arena at the Barrie Molson Center, and being an expansion franchise. And, right from the start, obviously getting Bert Templeton, and they had some success early on, becoming the first expansion franchise to make the playoffs, which was something that I think they hung their hat on for a bit with pride. And, for the city of Barrie, I mean, they loved hockey. They loved those Thursday nights. So getting into the OHL, I think, was obviously a big step for the city and getting that caliber of hockey. And it's been a fun ride. I mean, I've been fortunate to see some outstanding players, meet some outstanding people through the years. And, it's still going on. I mean, you see these young kids, and to see them now in the NHL, I think that's the fun part. Or even, contributing in the community, where there's some of them go on to become police officers and important figures in the community. It's all a great ride.
Yeah, you mentioned Barrie, a hockey town north of Toronto. One interesting thing about the Colts, they don't actually have radio coverage, meaning fans are getting a lot of their information from yourself, both on television and the newspaper. All that said, it seems like a very passionate hockey community, and the Colts, whether good or bad in the standings, always seem to bring out a pretty healthy crowd at what is now the Sadlon Arena.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the expectations in Barrie, it's always fun with the fans there. I mean, I think it dates back to the success that they had with the Junior B franchise. And, there's always the saying that, anything less than a couple rounds of the playoffs isn't successful in Barrie for the fans, which is quite a statement when you look how competitive the league is. And you go back to those early days. We started at the old Barrie Arena, the Dunlop Street Arena, and for half a year. And I think just the excitement to kind of go up to that level, and then the Molson Center, which is now Sadlon Arena, going into that new arena was a lot of fun. And it's I'll tell you look back to those early days, Josh. It's just the excitement around the city that was around the team. And there's a true passion with these fans. And I hear it all the time. I mean, the questions, they want to know everything.
Yeah, definitely. A fan base that has a pretty good pulse of what's going on with the team. And of course, just countless very exciting players that have come through Barrie and worn the Colts logo over the years. As you look back, do any names jump out at you? I mean, there's obviously generational OHL talents like Ekblad and Svechnikov, but, even Brian Little had his jersey retired this past season. Who are a couple of favorites of yours from watching the Colts since their first year in the league?
Well, I think you start with the first overall pick in that very first year, and that was Daniel Tkachuk. I think, I remember Bert Templeton telling us that this was before the draft, that they already knew who they were going to take, and he'd become a big part of it. Then after, when they selected Daniel, there was a choice. There was Joe Thornton. Was also available in that draft. When I talked to Bert, he said that obviously Thornton went on to have a great career, but Tkachuk was a great leader for the Colts, and that was a big part of it for Bert. And the fact that Bert knew that Thornton was kind of going to jump quickly into the NHL, and for an expansion team, having a player like Daniel around for 4 years was really going to help them. And but Daniel was a true leader in the sense, and they had some success with him, and they built. Another one kind of name that was there for a year and a half was David Chant. And for anyone that's had the opportunity to meet David Chant, he's a great human being, and he had one of the best, maybe the best year I think a goaltender has ever had in the city of Barrie in their years. He was outstanding. I think one night in Kitchener, I think he had like 72 shots, and I think he gave up 1 goal. And he led them to the 2002 OHL finals against Erie in that series. Barrie ended up losing, but that was a fun year. So players like David Chant and Jeremy Swanson's another one that stands out. Ryan Hamilton. But you get these players now. Even a young guy like Barrie Clark. You talk to him, and you see these players on ice and how good they are, but you really get to understand. Why. You see the work they put in and how much it means for these kids, to be able to be playing hockey at that level.
You mentioned Barrie Clark, of course, the 4th overall pick of the 2019 OHL priority selection. And anyone who watched him at the U16 level with the Don Mills Flyers knew that whoever got him was going to be in for something special. 38 points as a 16-year-old defenseman is pretty impressive. Maybe just put his season into words.
Yeah, when he came out as a rookie, there's always that pressure of being that first-round pick on a team, and he handled it really well. And I thought, for his role that he got early on, I mean, Brandt and talking to Todd Miller, who was behind him, and even Rowan Reichel, who started with the team, they used to kind of laugh because Brandt loves to join the rush, and he loves to lead the rush. And he was constantly going up. But the one thing you learn about him is he attacks, but he's always finds a way to get back in time. And that was the fun part about watching Barrie Clark. But really after Christmas, I think after that trade deadline, especially when they made some moves for the future, and Brandt kind of stepped up and, took a bigger role. And just to see how quickly he had developed, he's a fun talent. He's a difference maker out there. And, his growth too, when you talk to him, he's so mature. I think, his expectations, he's tough on himself. I know one game in particular, Quentin Byfield kind of scored the game tying goal late and then won it in overtime. And both times Clark was on the ice. And, it's really interesting to see just how much determined he was after to kind of get back and learn from that. And I think that's what in part makes him a great young player.
Of course, those are all lessons you'd prefer to learn as a 16-year-old rather than, when you're 19 and you're looking for that NHL contract or whatnot. So, yeah, definitely a year of development for Brandt. And as you mentioned, being up against some of the best players in the league as a 16-year-old, that's only going to make you better. And hats off to the Colts coaching staff for kind of showing that amount of confidence in him.
Yeah, I think, they brought him along, and the expectations that they're constantly talking to him. And it's one of the things that Todd Miller talked about was that he's constantly asking questions, Brandt, and he's constantly, wants to get out there the next shift right away and kind of prove himself. But, when you look at young Clark, I mean, this is, he put up some solid points, wasn't even on the power play. You look at his abilities, and, it's exciting. I mean, I talk to Barrie Colts fans all the time about Clark, and they just can't wait to see him out in the ice next year, take that next step.
Of course, the past couple of years of Colts hockey, seeing the organization have to grapple with the absence of Dale Hawerchuk, re-diagnosed with cancer after he fought it off the first time back in April. I know a long-time guy, as you mentioned, like Todd Miller, has been doing his level best behind the bench. And there was also the brief tenure of Warren Reichel back there, too, this past season. But I have to think Dale's absence has been noticeable in Barrie. Yeah,
I mean, right from the day in camp when I think we learned all that he wasn't going to be back, and he had a fight ahead of him. And I think, especially seeing it with the Colts staff and those guys that have been around him for quite a few years, and it hit hard. And obviously, to watch him battle and go through that, I kept in contact with him just to see how he was doing. And I know he was really excited, I guess, to be done his chemo and looking the next step. And when I talked to Dale, he wanted to get behind that bench. That was the thing with Dale. And he's obviously won the first fight. I think he's going to win this next one here too. And that'd be a great day to see him behind the bench again. But I think for the whole organization, it was a tough year. I think that kind of is always over. And Todd Miller told me that he would talk to Dale after every game, and just to see Dale obviously still involved with the team, and that's how much he loves hockey. So we're obviously thinking about him, and I think everybody, and for the organization, they're really looking forward to getting him back. And first and foremost, just win this battle too, and get back to health.
Of course, we saw the entire Ontario Hockey League behind Dale in this fight, a recent video that was just out on social media, and just a really good message of support from hockey operations staff from across the league. So a lot of people behind him and thinking of him, praying for him through this. So, with what you just said, I mean, last season was kind of a transitional one, I felt, for the franchise, moving former first overall pick and Ryan Suzuki, along with another former first round pick and Tyler Tucker, who has become one of the more steady defensemen in the OHL. But bringing in guys like Evan Vierling and Ethan Cardwell and Connor Punnett, pair that with the emergence of drafted guys like Forster and Brant Clark, homegrown guys, kind of seems like management almost started to realize that perhaps the club's new window of opportunity is maybe this coming season, or maybe even the one after.
Yeah, it's always a kind of a tough decision to kind of pull back the reins a bit and look to the future, especially for a team that thought they had a chance to, with like I said, Tucker and Suzuki and Wilms, that maybe they could do be competitive this season, but they just went on some lengthy losing streaks in that first half. Injuries really plagued the team. I mean, they played with short lineups quite a bit, and I think the decision at the trade deadline to kind of revamp the lineup, and honestly, Josh, it was a completely different team after the trade deadline. I mean, they brought in guys like Ethan Cardwell and again, Evan Vierling, Connor Punnett, and this young group just really came together really quickly. I thought Todd Miller did an outstanding job with those young guys, and now they look at the next 2 years as a team that they believe that they can contend. And the trade deadline also helped them kind of restock the draft table and gave them some assets that they go in over these next 2 years, and they feel they can be competitive.
Well, we learned on Wednesday the OHL has targeted a December 1st as the start date for the 2020-21 season. And, with all you just said, looking forward to seeing some young up-and-coming talent front and center in the Colts lineup. Can you wait that long?
No, it's going to be tough. I mean, I think after, Barrie was Barrie played Owen Sound. That was the last OHL game on a Wednesday night. Unfortunately. And, that's the tough part, Josh, is for these kids. I mean, how much work they put into it. And, they had the playoffs unfortunately canceled. I mean, this pandemic has just really grinded the whole sports world to a halt, the whole world to a halt. And, obviously we want to get back. And it's great, I think, to hear a date. And, I think for the OHL, they've done the right things here. They've moved cautiously, and they're listening to the health experts, and I think that's what you got to do. And we're all hopeful that we can get back to watching hockey. And I'll tell you, I miss it. It's great watching some NHL playoff hockey, but I'm an OHL guy. I've been for a long time, so that's the hockey I want to watch. And I'm looking forward to December, and hopefully we can. As a province, and we've done really well with the pandemic in terms of kind of containing this virus, and hopefully we can get a vaccine here, in the next few months, and take a big step and get back to normalcy, which for me is heading down that highway up to Barrie and getting getting in that rink and watching some hockey.
Back into our routines. We certainly are in unique circumstances right now, but as I mentioned, our return to play plan in place, and we'll see what the coming months bring, and hopefully we'll be dropping the puck again in December. Gene, always a pleasure talking hockey. Thanks for joining me, and I really hope you're able to enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thanks, Josh, and let's hope that December comes quickly and we're all back there and get back to some normalcy.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care.